Moving on to the defense, let's start with the defensive line. Obviously, a vaunted unit, but a unit that has faced some injury issues at times. What's your evaluation of them this far?
On the defensive line, I give them an A. You look at that group, and Nick Bosa, Samson Ebukam have been everything you expected. Eric Armstead, he doesn't have any sacks yet, but he was solid when he was in there until he got injured. Same thing with Javon Kinlaw. Sorry, I was just doing the hand thing, trying to remember the guy's name. And then the backups have all been, good. And so you look at it overall, and I think you got to give them an A because they've been excellent this year. And they've had a little bit of a downslide over the last couple of weeks, but that's mostly because of the backups have had to take extra reps. So I wouldn't argue with you if you came in and said it was an A- or a B+.
Yeah, I think right now I will still probably lean towards an A. It's between an A- and an A for me right now, just because there has been a bit of a backslide over the last few weeks. But when you look at the overall defensive line, I think the pass rushing numbers have been incredible. Obviously, much better in the first half compared to the second half. But I'm not trying to make a comparison, just making an overall statement. And I think overall, when you look at the numbers, they have been good this year. The defensive line continues to create pressure. You don't have just one guy making it. It's obviously Nick Bosa, but Samson Ebukam has 3.5 sacks. Charles Omenihu and Drake Jackson both have 3 sacks apiece. The pass rush numbers in terms of percentages in the pass rush win rate and the pass rush productivity have both been high for several players. Nick Bosa obviously playing at a near deep DPOY pace, if not the DPOY right now. So I think that there's been a lot of good talent on the defensive line. Yes, they got beat by Atlanta a good amount. Yes, they got beat by Kansas City in holding the edge, but I think the correct grade for me is an A.
There you go. Yeah, I
Let's
think
move to the
that's all
linebacker.
really
Yeah, go ahead.
fun information.
Yeah, but let's move to
Go ahead.
linebackers, a position where the 49ers have done very well in terms of drafting, in terms of talent. One of the best linebacker groups that you could say in the NFL. What's your grade for them?
I think they get an A as well. Fred Warner's playing at a high level again this year. He looks really good. I think he's last year. It's funny because he was an All-Pro 2 years ago. Wasn't an All-Pro last year, but I think you look at the numbers last year. The only difference was he didn't have the picks, right? The tackles and all that kind of stuff. Tackles for loss, I think, were all higher even than the year before. He just didn't have the interceptions, which get the highlight. So he puts you already in the B range. I think when Dre Greenlaw was healthy, that he moved you right up to an A. Greenlaw and Warner give you, I think, the best 2 linebacker combination in the NFL.
Yeah. Real quick, before I give my response, I did just see this comment from Mook DeVillen saying, "Salute, Jack. Do you think the 49ers should cut ties with Kinlaw, something related to the defensive line? I think his injuries career threatening, to be honest." What's your takeaway on that?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where they are, right? When you get, we'll see where he progresses throughout this year. He's on IR right now. They can't bring him off. He's going to miss next week against the Chargers. He's eligible to come off after that. So we'll see what happens if he's one of the guys that they decide to bring back. If not, if they don't go in that direction, I don't think they're going to cut ties with him because that's just not the way the 49ers do business. They'll let him play this out. I just don't know if they'll pick up his 5th-year option. I think that's what you need to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I think that's true. They won't pick up his 5th-year option. I don't know what they'll do. I don't think they cut ties. I honestly think that there could be a chance they roll out with him for his 4th year as well because it's guaranteed money. I don't know unless if they can't find a trade partner. I don't think they will cut ties yet. His injury could be career threatening though. That could be the case. I mean, Kinlaw's had the same issues kind of stemming the entirety of his career going back to college when he tore his ACLs. So hopefully he is able to come back. Hopefully he's able to overcome the injuries. Unfortunately, is looking bleak at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It is. It definitely is bleak, and he worked hard. He did the surgery, and it just isn't working out for him. So that's a bad deal.
Yeah. Rick Diaz says, "I think it's the 49ers offensive line should be okay. I know one thing, we're not out of work yet. Number 3, every week is a challenge." Yeah, 49ers line has been doing good. Should probably continue to do good as they gain more cohesion along the second half of the year.
Yes. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens because they keep rotating that right guard spot. I wonder if Brunskill is going to take over after the bye.
Yeah, I do wonder that too because you get the extra week. I personally do think that it would be. Do you think that that would be the right move? I wonder about you.
Uh, there's issues. I watched, and watching the film, and there's some issues with Spencer Burford in the running game and in the passing game both. There's times when he's just not getting there, and I know that Brunskill has his issues as well. I think he might be a little bit better in the run game though. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's a close call. I don't know if there's a major
Right.
difference between the two. And so
I do agree with that. I do agree with that.
if there's not a major difference between the two though, what I would say is you stay with the younger guy because you let him develop.
Yeah. I do agree that there isn't a bigger difference, and that's why I would stay with Burford. But if we are being honest, in all reality, I don't care who the starter is at the moment because I think it's not that far off as long as they stick with one player. I don't like the idea of rotating. It doesn't. I don't think it does. I think it does a disservice not only to that specific player, be it Burford or Brunskill, but also the remainder of the offensive line who has to kind of change their tendencies for to account for whoever's playing right next to them. So I think that that's a thing as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick, got to give a shout out to some of the other people that came in. Felipe De La Rosa, Niner Gang Wolfcast, Jesus here, as well as Lucas Pesci. Thank you both, or thank you all four for tuning in on this fine evening. But continuing
It's
forward,
gotta be what
yeah,
right
go
now?
ahead.
Like it's gotta be about what? 2:15 in the morning for Lucas right now because he's out in
Where's he at?
Austria. He's in Austria.
Austria. Oh,
Yes.
snap. If he's tuning in at 2:15, yeah, he deserves a round of applause. That's definitely something crazy.
He
I can't tune on at 2:15 for something like that.
he's a hardcore member of the Toolbox.
Odd job here as well. Thank you for tuning in. He asks, "Are you still enjoying the excitement of Grand Mertz?" He's growing on me. I'll say that. That's some Wisconsin stuff out here. But let's get back on topic to the linebackers. You said that they deserve an A. I'm going to go a little more critical. I will give them an A minus because I do think that that 2-game stretch when Dre Greenlaw was out for a little bit, that 2-game stretch in between the season, between the Falcons game and between the Chiefs game, was a little bit of a downturn for the linebackers. Fred Warner didn't play his cleanest football then. Great bounce back though in week 8. To me, I don't think though it's about the 2 stars. I think more so it's about the backups because the backups were having to play a little more. You've seen a little bit of Demetrius Flanagan-Fouts. He didn't play that great against the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion. And then you've seen a bit of Oren Burks, who has had his ups and downs as well. Pretty solid game this past week. I'm going to give him an A minus. I still think that they've played stellar. Great play in the first couple of weeks of the year. But to me, yeah, I'll give him an A minus. A is completely justified, though, I feel as well.
Nice. I'm glad we agree.
Moving on to the final position, or actually, no, not final yet. We'll split it into 2. Let's talk about the cornerbacks. Cornerbacks, obviously, probably the position that has seen the most turmoil or turnover this year. What's your evaluation of them right now?
And the DBs, I've given them a B plus. I think you look at them. I think they've been pretty solid. I know the game against Kansas City was as bad as it gets, but the game against Kansas City was as bad as it gets for all 3 phases of the defense, not just the DBs. So I give them a B plus though because one thing is the safeties have actually got turnovers this year. Jimmy Ward. Solid safety, but he doesn't get turnovers. He doesn't pick the ball off, doesn't really help force interceptions.
Right.
And he hasn't been playing. And in his place, you have Talon Hufanga and Tayshaun Gibson. And that duo, I think they have 4 interceptions combined between the 2 of them, which is more than the Flyers have had in a long time. So
in a while, yeah, at the
yeah.
position.
And then you have Charvarius Ward, who's played at a high level for most of the season when he's been healthy. And Emmanuel Mosley was really good in the beginning, and Diamondre Lenoir's replaced him. They've had a little bit of transition in at nickel, but for the most part, I think those guys have been pretty solid over there.
Yeah, I'm going with an A minus again. Probably it'd be a B plus to an A minus. I think I'm going to go with an A minus because of how stellar the play was in the first few weeks of the year. Yeah, the Nickelback did have Samuel Womack and Diablo Lenore. Had some up and downs here and there, but I have liked the play from cornerbacks. I have even liked the play of Samuel Womack on special teams as a gunner. So
Yes.
I'll attribute that as well. I think that the cornerbacks in the first 5 weeks when Mosley was there locked down some of the best cornerback play we've seen in the NFL thus far. Been a little bit shaky after that, right? Travarius Ward had not a great game in Week 7 when he was, it seemed, ailing from injury against the Falcons. Both the cornerbacks, when Travarius Ward went out in the second half or in the first half, weren't great, dropping the grade. But overall, when we look at it, I do think the cornerbacks have done well, especially relative to expectations.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty accurate right there for sure.